Okay, this is Hideous Z doing a replay analysis. Shen top versus Urgot top. The player rank is Silver 2. We're going to be focusing on, specifically focusing on the transition from lane phase to late game. So we're going to speed up a little bit here through the first part of the game. Looks like we might have an issue with AFK support. There we go. Okay, that's good. 5v5. Okay, fairly standard start. There's not really a great reason for you not to give a leash in this situation. You don't really gain anything by just standing in river. You know, you could at least give Fiddlesticks an auto attack or two. He doesn't need a leash. So for this particular jungler, it's it could go either way, but he just finally cleared blue there. So I mean, even a little bit of help helps him finish this out, and then he can get in and do his thing in their jungle that much sooner. Because at this point, he's risking getting jumped on by Vi. Okay, so I'm going to back up a little bit. Look at how this is going. Okay, so Urgot is probably going to be able to belay you here, especially early. It's going to be difficult to avoid that happening, just because he's ranged and has a lot of early lane dominating presence with his grenades and acid hunters. So you can just, I mean, there's not really even a reason to try too hard to stop that. He's going to make it happen. So just, you know, you're doing okay here, but you want to try to avoid putting yourself in a position where he can even hit you with this grenade. Just kind of give him his space, farm what you can with your Q, and let him push the lane. You want to, ideally, you want to just end up trying to farm close to your turret early on versus Urgot. So he can't just set the lane up back here and just constantly be able to zone you out from being able to farm and get XP. Urgot's main weakness is that if he does go super aggressive early, he will run out of mana very quickly. And since, yeah, he started Flask, which is pretty common. But yeah, there he's out of mana, so he can really do nothing to you unless he wants to walk up and auto attack. So you are exclusively worrying about farm right now. So you're missing a couple of farm that you could be getting. Back up a little bit again here. Okay. Thing to keep in mind with Urgot is that his grenade cooldown is super long. So once he uses it, that's a window for you to go in and be aggressive. So right now he's got nothing on you. As long as you stay between him and minions, you will be able to just out-sustain him. He won't be able to kill you with auto attacks. If he walks up and auto attacks, all of these minions are going to aggro him. You can hit him with your Q and Shadow Dash to get the damage reduced. And without mana, all he has is his auto attacks. And so he's in an awkward position here. So if I were you, he's clearly looking to be aggressive without any tools to actually be aggressive. And even though you're at half health, you can Shadow Dash to taunt him, hit him with your Vorpal Blade, and then just back off. You don't even need to stick around and auto attack. Just back off. The Shadow Dash gives you the damage reduction, and it's going to force Urgot to take a lot of minion aggro plus your Vorpal Blade damage and the Shadow Dash damage for what that's worth. But yeah, but you back off here for no reason. Like, his grenade is on cooldown, he has no mana, and you're giving up these CS for no reason here. You could go aggressive, and he won't be able to do much about it. But there's no reason for you to back off there. Early on, Urgot will be able to get off 3 Acid Hunters per grenade as he levels up the ability. He went really early there. So you see, you see Fiddlesticks coming towards your lane. You call for Fiddlesticks. That's good. So you're focusing on farming, focusing on farming. So you're taunting here. Now at level 1, your taunt lasts for 1.5 seconds. So so you miss him here for one thing, but even if you do hit him, you've got 1.5 seconds. In 1.5 seconds, Fiddlesticks is going to be here, maybe, like not even that close. That's the end of your taunt, right there. Taunt Fiddlesticks is here. So if you did, even if you did taunt him, Urgot's still standing right there. You haven't really gained anything. So, but you've blown your taunt. You've blown your taunt unnecessarily. And by going in super aggressive like this early on, if Urgot doesn't have vision here, so he doesn't know Fiddlesticks is here. And what you've done is you've taunted him. You've made a super aggressive move. And up till this point, you've been playing very passive. You've been playing back. You've been just focusing on farming. You've been backing off whenever he comes up to you. And so for you to just suddenly, all of a sudden, Shadow Dash, not only is that a drastic change in your behavior, like suddenly you went from passive to aggressive, and that's making him go, okay, what's this about? You're doing it while you're losing farm. So you are going aggressive, which is an odd change in behavior for no reason that he can see, because you don't have any kill pressure him. There's no like reason for you to be going aggressive here, as far as he's aware, as he's looking at the situation. There's nothing for you to be like for you to gain at this point, and you're giving up CS. So you're making a decision that, according to the information in front of Urgot, doesn't make any sense at all. So that's immediately setting off alarm bells in his head if he's smart. He's thinking, why is Shen shadow dashing at me, giving up CS when he doesn't have any kill pressure and he's been passive up till now? Of course, the only possible answer is because Fiddlesticks is there. And so by blowing taunt that, or your shadow dash that early, not only are you wasting shadow dash, because even if you did get the taunt, Urgot would still have time to make some good headway towards his turret before Fiddlesticks is in position, but you give it away really early that Fiddlesticks is there. So in this situation, play it cool. Keep farming this until Fiddlesticks is like right here. You know, until Fiddlesticks is within position, so that when you're taunting him, he'll be able to get in range of his fear. Because you want Fiddlesticks to be able to get up behind Urgot to fear him, because when Fiddlesticks fears somebody, he walks away from Fiddlesticks. So if Urgot makes it to here and Fiddlesticks gets to here and fears him, then Urgot's just going to walk up here. And that's not nearly as devastating as Urgot walking back towards your turret. So farm play it cool, act like nothing's happening. Calm down, just wait, bide your time. Fiddlesticks gets to about here, and then, and maybe you're like, you're stepping up closer to him, you're walking up closer to him, and maybe Urgot's thinking he's making a positioning error, he's not being smart, I can harass him. And so Urgot's maybe going to get a little bit greedy, step in a little bit closer, you're stepping a little bit closer to Urgot, not with an auto attack range, not making a super aggressive move, just moving a little bit closer. Urgot gets greedy, maybe tunnels on you, then boom, shadow dash, Fiddlesticks is right there. As soon as your shadow dash wears off, Fiddlesticks is in position to fear him, he walks towards your turret, you guys probably pick up a kill, or at the very least burn Urgot's flash. So, yeah, he was able to just walk out of that pretty much for free. Urgot knows he's still here, by the way. Like, the only way Fiddlesticks is leaving, because he has vision of both these gaps. So the only way Fiddlesticks is not there anymore is if he recalled. So I guess maybe, yeah, see, then he leaves. I'm not sure what he was thinking there. You either needed to go aggressive on Urgot, or, I mean, you could have, I guess, but you probably wouldn't have gained anything. Okay, so Vi is super late to lane, or super late to her first gank. I'm not sure what took her so long to get from blue buff all the way up to here. But she's super late. It's 4 minutes 30 seconds, I mean. So basically between 3 minutes 30 seconds and 4 minutes 30 seconds is usually when the first gank is going to happen top. It might also happen mid, but it normally happens top. So between 3 minutes 30 seconds and 4 minutes 30 seconds, that's when you want to have your ward right here or right here. Like right on this like literally like right on the edge of the brush right here, or right here. So at about 3 minutes 30 seconds, you want to be walking down and throwing a ward here so that you can see Vi, because she's almost certainly going to come from Tribush. So this is usually where you want it. So she's going to come from here, from Krugs, or she's going to come from here, from Red Buff. There's a chance that she might come all the way up river, but it's less likely because there's more likely to be wards that will spot her along the way. So she's probably going to come from Tribush, so having your ward right here is good. I didn't see where you used it, but it looks like this is your ward here. So I don't remember why you placed this ward here, if it was when you were chasing Urgot. But when you were chasing Urgot here, yeah, I mean, in general, throwing a ward down in a brush is a good way to go because it lets you dodge. It denies the advantage that a brush gives to somebody who's running away. But in that situation, I mean, you were just really unlikely to be able to kill Urgot because of the way that gank had been set up. He had already had positioning advantage. He had flash up the entire time. So your likelihood of actually being able to kill Urgot was super low, and you burned a very valuable resource in a ward anyway. So that's just a situation where you got to be able to realistically evaluate your likelihood of killing that person, and is it worth investing these resources? Is it worth investing my flash? Which no, it wasn't, and you didn't flash, that's good. Is it worth investing, cooldowns? Usually, yeah, especially for somebody that doesn't have mana. Usually that's totally worth it, burning a cooldown. Is it worth investing my ward? In this situation, probably not, because Urgot got to half health at worst. He has sustain, he has flash. You guys are not going to be able to kill Urgot. So hold on to your ward so that you have it for this situation, because you know that Fiddlesticks came to lane, and so he beat Vi there, but Vi's going to be coming up eventually, especially since Urgot just got ganked, and so he's probably pinging for assist. He's saying, help me, gank top. I just got ganked top. Help me out, Vi. Gank, please. So Vi is coming, and so you got to be aware of this. So you did okay here. You didn't over position and go super aggressive. So that is fine. Okay. And Fiddlesticks was near enough that it was okay. But in general, getting that ward down there allows you to just back off completely, and that wastes Vi's time totally. You don't lose any health. Fiddlesticks doesn't have to stick around and waste his time in top lane anymore. Or it allows Fiddlesticks to see her sooner, and then Fiddlesticks can get in position for an actual counter gank instead of just coming up to support you. So more vision is always better, and you want to use that first early ward really strategically, if at all possible. So the thing you want to be doing right now is you have a Doran shield, you're Shen, so you're pretty tanky anyway. You have the tools to sustain in lane and stuff. In that situation, I think it would have been better to try to clear those two minions as quickly as possible, even if that meant taking some aggro, because that forces the wave into the turret. Then then Urgot's not able to just back for free here. But because of what you did, you were kind of dancing back and forth, and every time you wanted to CS, you had to walk up into range and CS, and that gave Urgot a chance to harass you. When instead, maybe you could have just, while he was low on mana, you could have just walked up, pushed it as quickly as possible to get it out of the way, or to get it done, and that shoves the wave in here, and then Urgot has to focus on CSing. He can't use his abilities and auto attacks to harass you because he's got to focus on farming under turret. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. Okay, his cooldowns are down. Yeah, exactly. However, okay, so, well, let's just see how this plays out, I guess. I'll talk about it in a second. Yeah. Okay, let's look at that again. Okay, so you see Urgot's level 6. When Urgot hits level 6, that is a pretty significant power spike for him in a 1v1. And so you're looking at the situation right now. Urgot has a superior number of minions in his wave. He's level 6. He just got back from base, so he has extra. He's got item advantage on you because he recalled and you haven't yet. So you've just got your Dorn's shield, and he's got all topped up on items. He didn't get any super combat stats, but the Tear of the Goddess does give him. He does buff up his shield pretty significantly, and he's got all this sustain. So you got to be thinking he's got a level advantage, he's got an item advantage, and he's got a minion advantage. And that level advantage is significant because it's level 6, so he has his ult, and even when you do hit level 6, your ult doesn't help you in a 1v1. And so when Urgot hits level 6, that's a pretty big 1v1 power spike for him, and you're a ways off from hitting any sort of similar power spike for yourself. So you got to be thinking, he holds all the cards here. I need to be playing conservative, I need to be careful. Because if he gets an advantage on me, he will win. So he misses his grenade. And so you're thinking, he missed his grenade, that's an opportunity for me to go aggressive because one of his major abilities is on cooldown now. And yes, in general, that's true. You want to play around Urgot's grenade and you look to harass and trade and CS while it's down because his trading power is significantly reduced while his grenade is on cooldown. But at this point, even though his grenade's on cooldown, he still has all the advantages. Yes, he's overextended, and so these 3 caster minions will help you do damage to him, but his whole wave is going to be here in a couple of seconds, and these 3 caster minions alone are not enough damage to really turn the tides in your favor at all. You don't have any armor, and he's got a significantly enhanced shield right now, so even though you are able to taunt him, you also got to be remembering that every time Urgot auto-attacks you, he's reducing your damage by 15%, so your damage is down. While he's taunted, his damage is also reduced against you, but your taunt is not going to last very long, and his debuff is going to last the entire time you're fighting. So he's got a shield, plus full health, plus most of his mana. You're at 2/3 health, and you're not at a level. You don't have a level advantage. So you have to go in, and there's really only one way this ends for you, especially since his wave is coming up. So you start taking minion aggro, he starts winning because he has a lot of highly damaging abilities, and you're not able to sustain out of it. You do hit 6 here, but again, that's a stat boost for you, but it doesn't really do anything for you in a 1v1. You could look to ult out here. Honestly, that's probably your best bet. He could interrupt it with his ult, but then you've traded ults, and it's not the end of the world, and at least you've gotten a pretty significant shield. So instead you look to flash, but that's not going to help you versus Urgot because his grenade is going to come up here and he still has his ult. His ult not only is the position reverser, and it's about... I can't look what the range is. You might be just out of range here, which is why he ends up flashing. But what it does is it swaps your positions, so as long as he's outside of turret range or something, that's to his advantage because he's making it further for you to run, and it also gives him a pretty significant boost to his armor and magic resist, so it makes him a lot tankier as well. So if he lands that ult, which he will usually be looking to in a 1v1 at some point, not only does that lock you down and put you in a bad position, but it makes him much harder to kill, and so that's what he does. He flashes to get in range. He takes a turret hit, but it doesn't matter. So you shouldn't have gone in on there. You should have been thinking ahead through that whole situation. What's really going to happen here if I go aggressive? Yes, he missed a cooldown, and that's usually, if you're going to go in at all, you want to go in when he wastes his cooldown, especially his grenade. So in and of itself, that's fine, but you had to look at the rest of the circumstances, the rest of the context of that situation. Okay, so this is a good use of teleport to get back to lane. You don't want to use teleport to just get back to lane in general. But if you can use it to avoid missing a lot of CS, that's great. But then you kind of make a mistake here. You go super aggressive. So I'm going to back up again. Teleport is a massively powerful spell. Never use it to get back to lane unless it's a situation like this where you're going to lose a lot of CS. So you make a correct decision here, but a lot of silver players make that mistake. And so I'm not sure if you fall into that category, but I'm saying it just in case. Never use it to get back to lane unless it's this kind of situation. Always look to save it in order to be able to impact the map with it. Okay, so you're losing a lot of CS. Urgot is at 3/4 health and half mana right now. He's still going to have his shield. He still is going to outdamage you when you come back. And you have purchased Balmy Cinder, so that's good, but you still don't have any armor. That's just giving you some more health. Okay, so you teleport back here as soon as you come up, which is good. You did your purchases while you were dead, and you're immediately coming back to lane. And you immediately taunt. That's clutch. You dodge the grenade, and you taunt him under turret. So he's going to take some turret damage. And you're going to be able to do some damage, and that's good. That's going to make him back off, because he's going to take more damage than he wants to. So as soon as he comes out of the taunt, he's going to back off, and he does. But right now, again, look at the situation. Are you realistically able to kill this guy? He's at half health. He's dishing out a lot of damage, and he's just going to keep walking away from you. So even if you were able to actually get a kill on him eventually, it's going to be like you're going to have to like chase him all the way to here to get it done. And that whole time, you're giving up all of this gold. This is like 15, 30, 45, 60, 75. That's almost 100 gold right here that you're giving up on the off chance that you might be able to get a kill eventually here. And by the time you get here, who knows what'll happen. You probably are low because he's been damaging the whole time, and by that time Vi maybe is in position to come and deal with you. So you're chasing, and finally you decide to back off, but you've already missed all but 1 or 2 of those by that time. So that's just, again, you got to more quickly identify whether you what's going to happen here. Is it really worth continuing to chase him and auto attack him and do damage? You did enough damage to him that now he's at half health, and now he has to use some of his sustain and be a little more thoughtful about when he goes aggressive. And yeah, again, you missed your taunt, so back off. You missed your taunt, so back off. Your taunt allows you to be aggressive on him. If you miss it, though, don't keep chasing. He's going to win that every time if you miss your taunt. And even if you don't miss your taunt, honestly, because of how ahead he is right now. Urgot is a punisher. He is, unless he's really ahead, he's usually not going to be the one who's making, sick outplays or creating a lot of situations where he will, where he wins no matter what. Sometimes he will, but that's not really what he excels at. He excels at punishing poor positioning. Because if you make a mistake and walk into a bad position, or are predictable as you walk up to CS, he can land a grenade and nuke you down to half health immediately. So he is a punisher, so you need to avoid playing his game. You need to avoid putting yourself in positions where he can do that to you. So look to dodge his grenade, don't go in unless his grenade is down. And if you do go in, start with your taunt to reduce the damage to you. Hit him once or twice with your Vorpal Blade, and hit him with an auto attack, and then immediately just back off behind your minions. His grenade is down, so he won't be able to hit you with it, and he won't be able to Q you if you're behind minions. So you want to create situations where when you go into trade with him, you can get what you need to get done without allowing him to do what he wants to do. And that involves playing around his cooldowns, using minions to your advantage, playing through the scenario in your head before you actually go through with it. Okay, I'm going to speed up again. Urgot left. Hold on, I'm going to go back actually and look at this one more time. Okay, so right now, you have a perfect opportunity to set up a freeze here. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minions on your side. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, let's see, I'm going to back up even a little further here. Okay, so right now, your minion wave just arrived. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minions here, and he has most of the previous minion wave. If you can kill this melee minion and one of these caster minions, then just let it sit here. Do not auto-attack the other minions. Urgot is leaving. Don't do it. Resist the urge. The other minion wave is coming. If you let these minions survive, the tank or the cannon minion and 2 of the casters, or, you just leave 3 of them alive. Either leave 3 of the little ones alive, or the cannon and 1 other one alive. It doesn't matter which ones. Ideally, actually, you would come in and kill these casters, maybe. But whatever the case, leave 2 or 3 of them alive. And so then your minion wave stays right here. It stays right here fighting this minion wave, the 2 or 3 that are alive. Before it will have a chance to actually push past those ones, this wave will have caught up, and it will be right here. This wave will have killed at least a couple of your minions, so they'll be down a couple of, you'll be down to 3 or 4 minions left here. or just about. This fresh wave of 6 will come here, and you can just do the same thing again. It's 6 minions to 4 minions. It's not going to push out because the enemy has a numbers advantage. If you can keep the wave right here and make sure that this wave has at least a 2 minion advantage at all times, you can freeze it right here. Urgot will be pretty good at breaking freezes because of all his range damage, so he'll be able to kill your minions faster, and so you'll need to try to keep up and keep it at a 2 minion positive ratio here as best as you're able. But especially when he leaves, you're not realistically able to actually shove the wave to his turret from this position. You don't have a good enough wave clear. So you recognize he's leaving, and if you had good wave clear, or if the position was further up in the lane, then yeah, you want to shove the turret to try to punish him leaving and try to make that cost as much as possible for him. But since the wave is here, this is a better opportunity to freeze it. You can farm safely, or more safely here, or God is less able to take advantage of you and punish you and zone you out when you're right here. And if you do it right, you can do it almost indefinitely. So instead, you're shoving, and you don't give up CS when you freeze. You just wait until you can last hit it. So now you're shoving, so it's 5 minions. And yeah, you're missing a fair amount of CS too. You just in general, that's just a mechanical thing. You gotta just be, your CS mechanics just need to be lights out. If you want, that's an easy thing to practice in a custom game on your own. So you can just set up a custom game where it's you versus nobody, go into lane like you normally would, and just practice last hitting. Get to 90 CS, at least 90 CS by the 10-minute mark. If you can consistently get to 90 CS at 10 minutes in a custom game, that kind of thing will really help you to get your CS mechanics kind of down to muscle memory almost, and that frees up your brain to be thinking about all these other things that I'm talking about in lane. If you're having to focus really hard on CSing, then you're not able to think through trades, you're not able to think through jungle patterns, you're not able to think through any of that other stuff. Okay, so Fiddlesticks is coming in, or he's nearby, you want to glance at him. He's not level 6, so this isn't like an opportunity where you could do something insane and ult Fiddlesticks, and while Fiddlesticks ults in or something. But he leaves anyway. Which is probably good, because you guys don't really have any way of killing Urgot. He did go Manamune early, which I don't really like rushing Manamune. The tier is good, but rushing Manamune doesn't make sense. It's not really worth the gold until about 400 stacks or so. But that's a little thing. Not much you can really do to punish it at this point. So it's good that you're not like trying to go super aggressive on Urgot or something. That's another mistake that a lot of lower elo players make. Is trying, when they feel like they're behind in a lane. Nice dash, that was good. Okay, now you can ult Fiddlesticks. Oh, that's where you can ult Fiddlesticks. See, look at this. Okay, so I'm gonna finish the point I was making. So it's good that you're not going aggressive on Urgot. A lot of low elo players feel like when they're behind, they need to force some crazy play and try to get back into the game. That's not the case, especially in a matchup like this where he has the advantage from the get-go, and now he's ahead, and so he really has the advantage. So you just need to hunker down. Your goal becomes not winning the lane, your goal becomes losing the lane as gracefully as possible. So you are looking to try and avoid giving him free kills. You're trying to farm up what you can and look to make plays around the map, and to deny Urgot as much of an advantage as possible coming out of this lane. He's already won the lane, so you want to make sure he doesn't win it very hard. You win it as softly as possible. Okay, so you're doing a fairly good job of that overall. You're kind of taking too much harass for that. You need to be a little bit better at dodging his grenades and maintaining a good position to be out of, so he can't just harass you freely, and you're missing a fair amount of CS. So those two mechanical things need to improve to really be able to do that well. But as far as the overall mindset goes, you're in a good place because you're not trying to force plays. Okay, so Urgot ults you here because he sees Vi's coming, and so you'll if you can't see Vi right now, then you will in just half a second here. And so you do the right thing. You taunt him under turret. This is really good. Urgot's going to get taunted. He's going to start taking minion aggro. You see Vi coming in. She's over level 6, and so you have to assume that her ult is up. So you're doing the right thing here. You ult. Okay, so now all of their hard CC is down. They have no way to stop you from ulting. They have no interrupts. If you ult, you get a big shield, because Fiddlesticks is right here. Ult to Fiddlesticks. You get a big old shield, and you'll come right back in with Fiddlesticks when he comes in. He's channeling his ult right now. That channels for 1.5 seconds. Your ult channels for 3 seconds. If they sit here under turret trying to attack you, well, you have a massive shield and Fiddlesticks is coming in. That's how you come out of this situation really far ahead. So as it is, Urgot leaves, and Fiddlesticks is and Vi is gonna probably get away here too. Yeah. So at the very least, I don't think you would have died in that situation if you had ulted to Fiddlesticks. But that's a little clutch play that you can try to be thinking of for situations like that. Your ult is not just to join people across the map, although that's probably the most valuable way to use it. You can also use it as a get out of jail card, especially since they had used all their hard CC already. Urgot's ult was down, and Vi's ult was down, and they don't have any other, and she used her Q too, so they don't have any other knockups or any other way to interrupt your ult. Okay, I'm going to speed up a little bit here. If you're losing in lane too, like this, and you want to, this is just a build thing. If you're losing in lane and you want to try to freeze it here so you can farm up a bit and keep him from just being able to abuse you as often as he wants, that's what you want to do when you're behind, is try to freeze it here, so that gives you, at the very least, you can't get bullied out of XP range, but you probably are still able to farm even if he is able to bully you every now and again. If you want to do that, don't get Bomby Cinder first. Get the Chain Vest first. I think the Chain Vest would have been the better way to go first regardless, because of how Urgot works. He's all attack damage, and the Bomby Cinder is not going to do enough damage in and of itself to really make a difference if you are able to close with him. So the health is good, but the Chain Vest would have been the stronger way to go, I think, to try to mitigate his damage more. But especially in this situation, since you're behind, the Bomby Cinder is naturally going to help, because it's going to push the lane. It's going to make freezing a little harder. So I would go with the armor in general, both because it's Urgot and because you want to freeze it without pushing it unnecessarily. At 12 minutes, you should have 100 CS. In an ideal situation. Good ult. Good ult. That's good. Now you guys can get Dragon. In a situation like this, where it's an unfavorable lane and things aren't going super well, you should still be targeting 80 CS by 12 minutes. You've missed enough CS, and you could have set the lane up in such a way that that's not an impossible target by any stretch. But that was a good ult. You ulted down, got a kill, and picked up Dragon. So that was a good play on your part. And honestly, on Shen, the other thing to keep in mind on Shen, it's not that big of a deal if you lose lane. It's a big deal if you lose lane badly, because then you're super behind and your opponent is super ahead. But this is you're kind of straddling the fence here. Urgot has a kill and an assist, and he has a 40 CS lead, so he's pretty far ahead. If you can minimize that to a 20 CS lead, and just an assist or just one kill, that's not too bad. You're okay at that point, because you're not really looking to get kills or to carry super hard. You have most of the tools you need to do your job as Shen on your team without a lot of items, because you bring enough utility that you can do that. So it's okay if you lose the lane. You need to keep that in mind as well. It doesn't matter that much. Ideally, you want to win lane if you can, but you won't always be able to. And as Shen, he's pretty forgiving in that department. Okay, so your team's doing well. That's always good. That's another thing. You can, even if you're losing lane, if your team's doing well, you can just say it's okay. The rest of my team's doing well. So again, I'm going to minimize the amount of advantage Urgot comes out of lane with, so that when lane phase does end, he's not just an unstoppable monster. He's just going to be a little bit ahead, and my team is doing well enough that that won't even matter. They'll be able to deal with him. Yeah, just a lot of CS, just a lot of little CSing mistakes that you can be improving on. That's just practice. Practice and timing. Okay, Urgot is roaming, so you're correctly identifying the need to split push the lane, or to shove the lane. Your ult is up, so you need to be looking mid while you're doing that, and looking at the other contested areas. You probably overstayed here. As soon as Urgot left the left vision, you needed to start thinking about leaving. So I'm going to back up a little bit. Okay, so you're shoving, you're keeping an eye on mid because you're looking for an opportunity to ult, and you're looking for how long Urgot's going to stay for both those reasons. As soon as you start approaching the turret, that's going to set off alarm bells in Urgot's head, and he's going to start heading up. So as soon as he leaves vision, you can start a countdown in your head, because it's going to take him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds to get up to lane. Vi came up earlier because she happened to be closer. So you need to start like a 5-second countdown in your head, 4 or 5 seconds. As soon as Urgot leaves lane, you start counting down from 4 and leave as soon as you hit 0. So that you don't get caught out. Luckily Fiddlesticks is here. Well, sort of luckily because he gets murdered. So they both didn't jump on you. And yeah, now you just need to leave. But again, your ult was up, so I'm not sure why you didn't ult the Fiddlesticks. Because between the two of you, you probably could have killed Urgot, because Fiddlesticks would have been able to heal up off of him, and you could have taunted him, and your taunt may have been on cooldown at that particular second. But okay, good luck. Maybe a little bit late, because Braum did end up dying, but you go 1 for 1 so far. Or no, 2 for 1. Jinx died. Well, 2 for 3, I guess, overall. So a good ult, maybe look to hit that a little sooner. So just a map awareness thing. And then, yeah, shove this lane. Take a turret hit. That's obviously not ideal. So be careful about that. You didn't really need to close with the turret. Veigar's have his range, so all you need to do is be nearby so that Veigar doesn't get jumped on or something. When it's that low, you can just let the minions and Veigar do the work without putting yourself in a bad position. Okay, so right about now, 17 minutes, turrets are started to go down, Dragon's going to be coming up before too much longer. We've kind of officially entered mid-game, so you got to be starting to think about what your guys' win conditions are, and who is a big threat, and what the state of the game is right now. So you're looking at your team, you're looking at the scoreboard. You see that Fiddlesticks is behind Vi. Not horrifically, but he's behind. Vi is going tank. Fiddlesticks is going damage like Fiddlesticks normally does, or pseudo damage. But it's going to be a while before Fiddlesticks actually becomes a big threat, whereas Vi is kind of a big threat right now. You're looking at, I'm going to slow down here so I don't miss anything while I'm talking about this. You're looking at mid lane. So mid lane you've got Veigar, who is insanely ahead, and Victor, who is not like, he's got a kill, and he's kept up in CS, but he's down effectively 7 kills, or 6 kills. He has a kill, so between the 2 assists and the 6 kills, Veigar is ahead 6 kills worth of gold. So Veigar is insanely ahead. So he's probably one of your team's best hopes of winning this game. Then you're looking at the bot lane. So you've got Kalista, who is 0-4 and 88 CS, and Jinx, who is 6-1 and 146 CS. She is massively ahead. So this is also, you gotta be thinking, okay, so we've got Jinx ahead and we've got Veigar ahead. If we can keep them safe and create situations where they are able to do damage for an entire fight, we are going to win the fight. Urgot is doing okay, but he's not enough to, he's got to pick one of these guys to deal with while the other one rips his team apart. These guys are tankier than you are, which is important to keep in mind. You're the only tank and you're behind. They've got Urgot, who's starting to go tanky, Alistair, who gets tanky with his ult and he's building tanky, and Vi, who's tanky. So your job is going to be, every time, is to keep these tanks off of your damage dealers. You are not going to be initiating on these damage dealers. They're behind anyway. They're not major threats. You need to keep your damage dealers safe from these guys with your taunt and with your shield as often as possible. Each team has 2 turrets down. Well, your team has 3 turrets down now, so you're actually ahead in turrets. So effectively, you guys are winning this game significantly, and that's reflected in the gold totals. It's 30,000 to 26,000, which is not a total you have access to in-game, but you can kind of estimate how it's going by looking at turrets and kills. Right now, Dragon's up in 30 seconds. At 60 seconds, you guys need to be setting it up and prepping for it. So you guys have vision in the area. That's good. It would be nice to have vision here as well. And yeah, you recalled and are heading in that direction, so that's good. You want to be here by like 10 seconds before it spawns, ideally, which is about when you'll get here, I think. Maybe a little bit after that. But so you can set up. The thing to avoid right as Dragon's coming up is recalling. Okay, thank you. And taking a risky fight right before Dragon comes up. Because if you lose a risky fight, then you give up a then you potentially give up Dragon for free. So you guys should be paying more attention to this timer though. You guys should be waiting for it to spawn. Because you guys have timer, they might not because you got first Dragon. So you have the advantage here. Just get all 5 of your guys right here and take Dragon immediately as it spawns. Okay, that's good. You managed to catch them out. They decided to face check it when they weren't ready to really do that and got deleted. So now, yeah, you're forcing Dragon. Finish Dragon. You could finish Dragon here. It's not that big of a deal since they only have 3 people, but be a little bit careful about that. But that was the right move overall, is to taunt Urgot and let your damage dealers delete him. So right now you're accomplishing very little. You were kind of there to kind of protect Fiddlesticks, which, I mean, it was only Callista, and if Callista decides to try to kill Fiddlesticks on her own, she's going to get absolutely obliterated. Even though Fiddlesticks is behind, she's even more behind, and Fiddlesticks wins almost every single 1v1 he goes into. So your time would have been better spent helping these guys push this lane. Because you have Sunfire Cape now, that helps push the lane very quickly. And if you had helped push the lane, it would have gotten here sooner, which would have made this goes down sooner, which means Braum doesn't die here. And Jinx too, if she sticks around. Oh, okay, so yeah, you're gonna die. Okay, so again, you got to think through. You got to think through the end game here. So what's gonna happen here? It's a 4v, like best case scenario. Even if Jinx comes back, Braum is gonna die almost immediately. It's a 4v2. Jinx comes back, Braum dies, or at least he's out of the fight. He can't do anything. So it's a 4v2. You don't have any damage. Their damage is all here. And you probably have Vision of Vi at this point, so it's 5-on-2. Best case scenario. I mean, what's going to happen? Yeah, you might ult and you almost save Braum, but just because it's a teammate with low health does not mean it's a good idea to ult in. This was a lost cause, which you probably realized as soon as you went into it. Admittedly, this is an easy mistake to identify. Well, you got to be able to read that more quickly so that you don't hit that R button and then realize it was a mistake. You got to be able to get to a point where you realize it's a mistake before you hit the R button. So Fiddlesticks is correctly identifying that there's 5 bots, so he can push top lane. That forces Urgot to burn his teleport. I don't know if you guys got vision of it. Probably not, so maybe you don't know that yet. But here's Fiddlesticks. He's behind, so this is going to be close. And Vi shows up. So again, that was pretty understandable for you to try to teleport in there. It wasn't a bad play necessarily. If you'd gotten there, you know, if Fiddlesticks had been able to survive a little longer, or Vi hadn't shown up, that probably would have been good for you guys. But as soon as Fiddlesticks goes down, you just need to focus on booking it, which is what you did, for the most part. Okay, this is pretty straightforward at this point. Your carries are just pressing their advantage, and you're doing a good job of being a big, mean frontliner with CC. That was nice. You are missing a fair amount of shadow dashes, so again, that's just a mechanical thing to think about. You're hitting some good ones as well, but there's several pretty clutch ones that you're missing, and that one's fairly predictable. Like, you know, where's he gonna go? He's going to go toward his target and his turret. His target is here and his turret is here. He's going to walk this way, so you can taunt into the bush instead of where he was standing. Again, that's just kind of, it's a mechanical thing to miss Shadow Dash, but it's also kind of a mind game thing, because that particular one was a mind game. you got to be getting into the head of your opponent a little bit. Where is he going to go next? Well, most likely, where's he going to go? And he had two kind of road signs or markers of where he was going to go. You had two clues. He had a target here, and he has a turret here. If he goes here, he's walking away both from the thing he wants to kill and the thing that's going to protect him. So if he does this, this is like incredibly dumb. So you want to taunt here, both because this is where he's most likely to walk, and because if he, it's a zoning thing. So maybe he sees you shadow dashing this way, and so he decides to turn around and try to dodge it by standing still or walking back, and then that results in him getting killed. So if he does walk here, you taunt him. If he sees you going to taunt there or assumes that you will, he walks this way and dies. So it's a it's a win-win scenario for you no matter what happens. And so it's not always being able to correctly predict what your opponent is going to do. It's to correctly predict what the correct thing for your opponent would be to do, and then make that correct thing a bad choice. Force him to make a less optimal choice. Okay, so right now you are in the top lane pushing. This, split pushing in and of itself is okay to do, especially for Shen. He's pretty good at that with his ult and with your teleport. Your teleport is down, but you have ult, so that's okay. But look at the map. Like, what advantage are you creating for your team right now? You are the only interesting thing happening on the map for the enemy team right now. If the enemy team is looking at the map and they're thinking, what should I go do right now? Callista's farming a wave, so she's doing that, I guess. But you are by far the most interesting thing that's happening right now. And that's what's happening. Every single one of them, other than Callista, is making a beeline for you. And you're not, and that's what you want to do as a split pusher. You either want to be able to push a turret, push objectives, or you want to create a big distraction where there's a lot of people focusing you. So again, in and of itself, this is okay, except that there's no one on your team who's in position to do anything about it. They all were called, they all went back. And that's not like a mistake on their part. That's just what happened. They went back after that last fight, after that last kerfluffle, and you weren't paying attention, and you decided to split push anyway. Split pushing gained you nothing there. You got maybe a little bit of CS, but that's not worth it, because you're going to have to at least burn a lot of cooldowns, and there's a good chance that you die here, and you gain nothing from it. Your team gets nothing for that. They're not in position to push an objective. If you had waited until this lane was pushed a little bit further so that your team could be pressuring mid while you were split pushing, and then when 4 people or 3 people come to chase you, they have a 3v1 or 4v1 in lane versus Victor, or a 4v1 in bot versus Callista, that's worth it then. Even if you die, that's probably worth it, because then they murder Victor and they get a turret and an inhibitor, and by the time these guys show up, they can kill them too, or they can just leave. So don't ever split push just to split push. Always look at what's happening on the map. You want to, split pushing is a powerful tactic because it forces the enemy team to make a decision. They need to be forced to decide to do we either deal with Shen or do we deal with his team? Do we deal with Shen or do we save our turret? Do we deal with Shen or do we get Dragon? Whatever the case it is, do we deal with Shen or do we do one of these other options? Because of the time you chose to split push, it was deal with Shen or, well, there's no other choice. Let's go deal with Shen. There was no downside for them to come dealing with you. So hide in the brush, take a jungle camp, something, stay under the radar until your team is in position to take advantage of the distraction you're creating. Because then either they come to you and your team wins a fight and gets an objective, or they go to your team and you are able to push an objective and then ult into the fight. So I'm guessing that's game here. It looks like they're going to surrender.
Red team's turret has been destroyed.
Maybe not. How long does this game go? Yeah, there it is. Okay. Looks like somebody either DC'd or something, or rage quit. Okay, so overall, you definitely did some good things. You had a couple of good ults. You in those last skirmishes in the jungle and stuff, you were doing a good job of picking up priority targets and locking them down for your damage dealers to kill them. And so, you understand what Shen's job is clearly, and you are making steps to do that job as best as you are able to do. The things you need to work on are identifying matchup strengths. So Urgot is probably going to beat you in lane no matter what you do, and you want to test the waters a little bit early to see if he's bad, and to try see if you can actually win the lane in an unfavorable matchup. But as soon as he demonstrates an ability to bully you and to win the lane, then you need to just respect that. You need to back off and make sure that you lose the lane as gracefully as possible. If it's possible to lose the lane by only giving him a CS lead and no kills, you give him a 20 CS lead and 0 kills, that's a dream scenario. That's okay. It doesn't matter that Urgot comes out 20 CS ahead. You're Shen, you're going to be able to do your job from 20 CS behind with no issues. If Urgot comes out 40 CS ahead, a kill and assist ahead, now you've got a little bit more of an issue. It still wasn't a disaster, but it was a little bit more of an issue. So that could have gone a lot worse. You did a pretty good job of it. You could do a better job of it. Your CS needs work, just in general. That's just a mechanics thing. You got to practice. You can do that in custom games. That's a good way to do it. You missed a couple of opportunities to use your ult to save your own life. So you want to be on the lookout for that. Don't just tunnel on using your ult to join a team fight across the map. It does have more uses than that, even if that's probably the optimal use. Trying to think, there was a couple of other things I talked about, but I'm kind of blanking on them a little bit right now. There was just some general decision making types of things. So yeah, you'll have to go back in the video and watch them because I'm drawing a complete blank right now. Anyway, overall, some good stuff, but plenty of stuff to work on too. Just map awareness and win conditions, and just trying to think ahead. That's mostly what it was. It's just you're trying to think a few seconds into the future. The big one, yeah, was that ult on Braum. That's just an example of the kind of thing I'm talking about. And again, that's an easy mistake to identify, but you got to think. You got to think further ahead than that. You can't just look at Braum and see that he's going low and ult to him to save him, because that's what Shen does. You got to be thinking, 5, 10 seconds into the future. After I ult to Braum, what's going to happen? Even if Jinx turns around, what's going to happen? It's a 2v5 at that point, so we're going to lose no matter what. So by ulting in, I'm actually giving them more kills than they have already earned. Let Braum die and go do something else. Maybe save your ult for in case Jinx gets in a bad position closer to her turret, because if you can save Jinx, like right here, if she's getting chased, then you probably give her enough of a shield to survive, and you guys survive, or something like that. Hang on to it. Think a few seconds into ahead, and on a map-wide sense, try to be thinking even further ahead. Okay, thanks for giving me the opportunity to look at this game. I really appreciate that, and I hope it helps.